Okay, this is going to be a Galaxy Log special. Um, July was not a good month at all here in the Northeast. Um, Not only did we have nights that were not transparent with high humidity and clouds and so on, but also the smoke issue from the horrible fires out west and just deteriorated the skies immensely. And so during the dark window, there was absolutely zero nights to get out. So I figured, well, let's get ready for fall and do a special here and talking about some of the fall galaxies that can be seen. And I have a special guest. Hope you enjoy it. So, um, for this galaxy log, I have a special guest, a longtime observing partner, Rob Cordivari. We've been observing for, I guess, together around 30 years now, close to 30 years now, right, Rob?
1993. Yeah.
Oh, so it's been a long time.
Yep.
Rob, Rob's been is a great deep sky observer, and I've seen many galaxies in a variety of telescopes, and he's going to show. We're going to show his favorite telescope coming up. First of all, in this special edition of Galaxy Log, it's basically we're going to be talking about some of our favorite fall galaxies, and here's a an image of what the fall sky kind of looks like, the primary constellations of fall. Pegasus is probably the primary um, constellation, kind of sits in the middle of the all these great constellations. And of course, like spring, the fall sky has a lot of galaxies and a lot of different galaxies. So it's kind of hard to pick out what's the ones we really like, but we're going to talk about them and see what we have here. First of all, well, Rob, if you want to talk about your telescope.
Yeah. This is a 20-inch, and it's a very fast telescope. It's an f3. It has a Lockwood mirror in it, and it's made by JP Astrocraft. I had been observing prior to that with a 20-inch f5, so quite a big difference. Even though the aperture is the same, the f5 was focusing at a much higher height, and I needed a four-step ladder to get up to the eyepiece. So this telescope gives me aperture and convenience, and it's really enhanced my observing experience and my observing knowledge, because I get to spend more relaxed time and more stable time at the eyepiece than I did when I was on a ladder. So yeah, this telescope was a real thrill to get hold of, and I enjoy using it more and more each time I take it out. So yeah, so this is my primary deep sky telescope. I also have a 240 millimeter APM APO refractor, and I use that a lot. Also, especially when I go up to the Adirondacks, which is where I'll be heading shortly. So I'll have that refractor with me when I go up there. But yeah, this is the telescope that I would use for deep sky observing.
Did you mean 140 millimeter?
Did I say 240?
Yeah, I was like, wow.
I'm dreaming. I'm dreaming.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's close to a
140.
10-inch.
Yeah, yeah. That's my next telescope.
There you go. All right.
Yeah.
Here we go, Rob. There's your first galaxy you want to talk about.
Yeah, so this has always been one of my favorites, and I was glad you said it was hard to choose, because when you asked me to join in, I was thinking like, oh, well, what are we doing? Are we doing favorite galaxies? Are we doing the best galaxies of the fall? Because that's two different lists sometimes. But some of these overlap. So these are some of the best galaxies of the fall and some of my favorites, and some of these are bright and easy to find. But this has always been a favorite of mine because of um, I go back to when I first started out observing with a 10-inch and then a 12 and a half inch Dob. and I would track this thing down from my driveway, and it was just a faint ghost of a wisp, and it was sometimes you could be looking right at it and never know that you had it in the eyepiece. And I kind of got to really enjoy it because it was a challenge from my driveway, and it just had this kind of mystique to it because you see so many well, I want to say background stars, but they're actually foreground stars because all those stars you see are in our Milky Way galaxy. So it gave it this kind of, it became like a very mysterious object. And I was so happy when I tracked it down, even though it was very, 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 very faint. But when we started going to darker locations and I started increasing my aperture, my interest in this galaxy just grew and grew. So there was kind of like this interesting relationship with starting out with this galaxy faint at low aperture from a relatively dark sky, but relatively, relatively light polluted also, to darker and darker and darker locations with larger and larger and larger aperture and better eyepieces. And now, looking at this object with a 20-inch telescope with a very good mirror with a, say, a 10 millimeter view from one of our darker local sites, or even Cherry Springs or Spruce Knob, it's just stunning, and you really can't get enough of it. And that dark lane just gets more and more pronounced the darker skies you can get to, and it really does look like sometimes like someone just took a black Sharpie and just drew it right down the image. So yeah, this has always been one of my favorite galaxies.
Yeah. I was going to mention also in 2015 when we had the 22-inch knob down in West Virginia. In fact, it was in the Blackwater Falls State Park, and I can still remember Sherry, my wife, going up the ladder and looking through the eyepiece for this thing, and she didn't want to come down. She was just amazed at how much detail was seen, and you could see actual detail. And like you said about looked like somebody took a Sharpie, a dark Sharpie, a black Sharpie, and just drew a line through it. And then you could see actual detail within the dark lane. And she was just mesmerized by this galaxy. Yeah. And you're right. It's amazing how this galaxy can go from, in moderately dark sites with smaller aperture, to when you go really dark sites and larger aperture, this thing just takes off like that. And you're correct.
And the other thing, relating this back to my telescope, this was interesting, which was before I got the telescope, just months before I got it, I was up at Cherry Springs and I had my 20-inch f5, and I had met a guy across the field who had a 24 f3.3 Lockwood mirror and a JP Astrocraft telescope. So I talked to him during the day, and he said, yeah, be sure you stop over tonight. So I was up at my ladder and I had 891. I was looking at 891, and I, was really enjoying the view. And I got down, I said, hey, I'm going to run over to that other guy's telescope and check it out. So I run over there and I say, hey, you mind if I take a look? And he says, yeah, sure. I said, well, what do you have in there? And he goes, 891. I thought, this is perfect, because I just saw it through my telescope, and then I got to see it through his. And now he had more aperture, but he also had a nicer mirror, and it's the same, Lockwood mirror. And that was really what convinced me when I saw how great that view was in his telescope. When my telescope came up for a sale, I didn't hesitate about the optics because I had seen through the 24-inch Lockwood.
Right.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Okay, here's your 1023.
Yeah, so 1023, this is another one. It's like, okay, there's so many fall galaxies. How do you make a list of 5 or 6 fall galaxies? So, I just went to the ones, I just started out with the ones that are just kind of like I'll just go to them every time I'm observing.
Right.
No matter how many objects I'm going to look at, I always seem to like, oh, I got to look at 891, and I'm always going to take a look at 1023. When I go out, and I have a little bit of a affinity to this galaxy because it was first light in my 20-inch f3
Mm.
up at Hawk Mountain,
Right.
and it's one of these galaxies that I actually appreciated more at medium power than I do at high power. Although, as we were talking, we saw it on your through your 22 last year, and at higher power. What did you say? You had the 5 mm in there.
Yeah, it was actually through the 12. It was
The
through the
12.
12.
Okay,
Yeah, it was through the 12 f4.
but we had higher power on it, and
Right. Right.
you could see that companion
Yeah. Yeah. You could.
galaxy
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. You could see. I had the near view image there, and
Yeah,
it was with a 5 mm, so it was 240 magnification. And the
yeah,
skies were really good that night too. So.
right. Yeah, and so that's kind of neat to see that companion galaxy with it. And I also love this little I call it like a where is it here? Like this little star pattern right here.
Yeah. Right.
Like a backwards 7 here.
Yep. Yep. Right here. Yep.
Can you see my? I guess you can't see my.
No, because I'm sharing. I can see what you said right here.
Yeah.
Right. You can see where the cursor's gone.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is one of these galaxies that, it's so bright you can see it, in the finder scope,
Right. Yeah.
and it looks good through low power. I particularly like it at around 150 power,
Right.
because it's so bright and you get all the background stars in it. But like any deep sky object, you can go high power on and start to see some detail in there, and especially picking up that companion galaxy 1023A. So there's a lot to offer, and this is an object that I'll look at through my my reduced refractor that got reduced from 240 to 140. That tiny little refractor.
You know what? That should look great through that scope. And
I think it will. And last year when I was up there, I had a really nice view of 6503.
Right.
And there were certain galaxies that just look great in a refractor with a dark background, and I think this is going to be one of them.
Yeah, it's going to be spectacular.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to tracking that down. And this is a galaxy like 891 that I've been observing since I started, and have seen it again, from not so dark skies with small aperture all the way up to the darkest skies with large aperture. So it's kind of fun when you get to see it at all different levels, and you can appreciate it at all levels. Then that makes it a great object.
Right. Yeah, because it could be seen, because of its high surface brightness, and it is very bright. It could be seen even in fairly light polluted areas. Push the magnification a little bit, get your background sky a little more contrast.
Yep.
And the galaxy still can be seen.
Yep.
Alrighty. And this one looks familiar, Rob. It kind of looks like it's behind you.
It's a great galaxy.
Yeah.
To me, it's kind of like trying to think like what like Leo is spring to me, right? Like, when you see Leo rising and you go like, oh, there's like 2903, right? You just kind of associate it with or M65 and M66, right? You just say like, oh, the spring galaxies are up. There's Leo, and and I just associate 7331 with the fall. Right. I mean, it's just like it's the premier fall galaxy for me. And another one that I've been observing for decades through all types of conditions and aperture, and appreciated at all different powers. When I was up at Cherry Springs back in May, it was a crazy night. You get these parts of the year where we were seeing spring, summer, and fall objects all all at the same time. I mean, it's really crazy. You're looking, to the west, and you have, or the south and southwest, you have, Sagittarius and, Scorpius and everything. And you look over to the east, and there's, Pegasus rising. Oh, look, I can get 7331 in May. You know, low on the horizon. Not very high. I don't know how. 15 degrees above the horizon or whatever. Such dark skies all the way down to the horizon there, and just a beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous image of it in the summertime under medium power, and it
Right.
was just stunning. So, this is another one that there's something to be said for putting medium power on it and just enjoying the aesthetics of it.
Right.
And you can pick up those background galaxies
Right.
even under medium power. Not all of them, but that 7340 always shows up.
Right.
You can get that in a small telescope. But then, you can always kind of tell your sky conditions and your transparency by those three companion galaxies. You want to point out the 73,
It was
8,
7335 right here.
30, 7, 6, and 5. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, 7336 is the tough one.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's funny because in the 12-inch, I'm able to pick up the brighter 3, and I've yet to grab 7336, but I'm going to try it at a darker site, a higher amount. Now, the 22, I have no problem.
Right.
Easy pickup with 7336. But I would like to see if I can pick it up with the 12 from a darker location with higher magnification. So that'll be one of the challenges I want to see. But the main galaxy itself, you're right. It's one of those galaxies that just screams galaxy. It looks like a galaxy. It's a galaxy. Yeah. So you're right. You're right.
And I read something interesting about it recently, which maybe I knew and forgot or didn't know, but the core of the galaxy rotates in the opposite direction of the rest of the galaxy.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so that it's suspected that there was kind of like a pass through or something of some other galaxy. So yeah, that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
This is a galaxy that I used to be able to see from my driveway. I could see 7337
right.
And 40. So like I said, there was always good indications of what kind of night it was going to be. So if I went out in the fall, I'd get everything set up. I'd do my 2-star alignment and a go-to just to test it out. Usually 7331 was just kind of like right up overhead, high enough to enjoy viewing it. And I would pull it in, and I could tell right away what kind of night it was going to be by what I was seeing in those companion galaxies.
Right.
And it's actually a fun star hop. Before I had to go to, I would star hop to that all the time, and it's a really fun star hop.
Yeah, it is.
And there's different ways you can get there.
Right.
You showed me one way when I was first starting out, and then I found another way on my own, and it was always kind of fun. I would always challenge myself to see, like, once I was ready to go, I would see how quickly can you get 7331 in there.
Right. Yep. Alrighty. And another favorite of yours.
Yeah, so these two, I wasn't sure whether I should include these or not, but I decided that these are another pair that I just always seem to go to in the fall. And of course, they're right near 7331, but they make such an interesting pair together, the contrast of them. And this view that you're showing here, I guess the 7339 is probably a little brighter than what you see through the eyepiece. But so the contrast between the brighter galaxy and then that fainter, edge on is kind of interesting to see them. And they're like a lot of galaxy pairs where sometimes you overlook looking at each one of them individually.
Right.
And you just kind of get lost into seeing them together as a duo. So last few years when I've been looking at these, I've tried to go a little higher power and get in on that, that safer galaxy and see what, see to really determine the shape of it and treat it as a standalone galaxy.
Yeah, yeah. Alrighty. Okay, there you go. More of a challenge, yeah.
Yeah, now these, I have to be honest, I have not seen these in my new for, almost 4 years old now. I haven't seen these in my new telescope. So that's why I included them in here. I'd seen these through my other 20, but I haven't seen them through the new 20. So I can't really give any information on what I've, viewed them recently. I would just say they're high on my list for the next time out with the 20-inch to track these down. And I don't know if it's possible to see the curve on 914 there, but that's something I'd be definitely looking at. And they're both barred spirals. It's, they call them the taffy galaxies.
Right.
Maybe what's your viewing experience on those?
Be honest with you, I have not looked at these yet.
Okay.
It's just so funny is that there's some other fainter galaxies that in that part of the sky that I've actually looked for and I've seen, and never got around to looking at these. And it was funny because I did a presentation for the club for the Chessmont back in 2014 talking about these guys, and it just completely slipped my mind. So it's like, okay. So they are definitely on my list to observe and to do a galaxy log with. I think I can, no doubt, with the 22, and I would like to see maybe even as a challenge with the 12. So.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
Yep. So, but yeah.
So definitely, high on my list of, this fall, one of the, first times out with the 20-inch. These guys, depending where they are
right
in the sky at the time, they're going to be high on my list. And I don't really have any observing notes from observing them in the past. So I mean, I know I've seen them, but I don't have much to report on, like a visual observation of them, other than I just think they're a really neat pair, and they definitely deserve some looking into come this next dark window or two.
Yep. All righty. So we got a Rob's challenge here, and there we go.
Yeah. So this is an object. This is another one I haven't looked at through the new telescope, but I've looked at it through my previous one, and I brought this up in honor of Ed Kane. Who, for the viewers, his nickname was Edge on Eddie.
Love his Edge.
Deceased about 10 years now, close to that, right?
Yeah.
And he used to love looking at Edge on Galaxies. And I remember being up at DS Edge one night when he tracked this thing down, and he was really excited about looking at this galaxy. And so I thought, okay, you know what? I always remember that night because he was so excited about it, and he just loved looking at it, and he showed it to me in his 20-inch f5. I guess we had the same telescope, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, two obsession.
Yeah.
I think he had a different mirror, though. Did he have a Pegasus?
He had a Pegasus mirror. Yes.
Yeah, he had a Pegasus, and I had the LMI. I just remember enjoying the view through it, and this is the thrill of observing with other people was that I remember more his reaction to the object than what I saw through the eyepiece.
Right.
I was just kind of like, wow, this is really cool. Like he's really into it.
It's a thin one too, that's for sure.
It is. So the low surface brightness, but so and that's one for the 20 for sure. So maybe the next time we're out together, we can track down those taffy galaxies and this one together and see it. But yeah, so I've always loved going through the Alvin Newey flat galaxy list, and this is definitely on there. So it's good to compare those galaxies to one another. There's so many of them out there that are I don't want to say underappreciated, but they're not on everyone's observing list. Let's put it that way. Right. So that flat galaxy list is a really cool list because there's some off the beaten path galaxies on there, and a lot of them are just really gorgeous. I mean, some of them are obviously very, very faint, but there's a few in there that are, it's like, wow, I never saw that one before. Like,
Right.
thanks, Alvin, for putting that list together.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, So, yeah, so that's that's what I have planned for next dark window.
Sounds good. All right, Rob, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to hand it over to myself here, and I kind of divided up in through my smaller scopes, my medium-sized scopes, and my large scopes, and some of my favorite views through these telescopes. And the refractor here is an Explorer Scientific 4-inch f6.47 achromat. It's an achromat. It's a shorter achromat, but it's nice. It has good optics in it. It's a great grab and go scope. The only drawback it does have, other than being an achromat, it doesn't have the 2-inch focuser, so it can only use 1.25-inch eyepieces. But still, I'm very impressed though by the optical quality of it. Other than that, like I said, it is a fast achromat, but it still gives really nice images. And then on the right here is the GSO 6-inch f5 reflector. Great telescope for the price. I paid $200 for the tube assembly, and has really nice optics in it. Has a nice Crayford focuser. Comes with a 6x30 finder scope, which is fine for this aperture. But really nice optics in this telescope. I'm very impressed by it. And here's the Galaxy that for scopes of this size is perfect. In fact, you can see this through binoculars and so on. This is actually one of the great galaxies of the sky. And for us northern observers, to get a really good view of it, you have a fairly good dark southern view. This thing really comes alive. It can be seen in binoculars, finder scope. I kind of nicknamed it the Southern Andromeda, or the Andromeda Galaxy, or the Southern M31. But actually, from really dark locations, it actually shows a little bit more detail than the Andromeda Galaxy. But even in a small telescope, you can see some of the modeling and real bright core. Like I said, it's an extraordinary galaxy that can be seen in smaller telescopes and seen well.
Hey, Carl.
Yeah, Rob, you ever see this guy in your 20 yet?
No, but I wanted to tell you, speaking of Ed Kane, I saw this galaxy. It was my first view of it, and I have to say that it was one of those images that I've never forgotten. You know how you get some of those sometimes. You just have that image and you remember everything about what was going on when you saw it. And I saw this down at Spruce Knob with Ed, and I saw it first through my 80 millimeter finder scope, and it blew my socks off.
Yep.
And I obviously looked at it. I think I had the 16 Zambuto at the time, but that view through the 80 millimeter finder scope from Spruce Knob was just stunning.
Yeah.
And Ed and I kept going, we just kept looking at it through the finder scope because it was so beautiful.
Right.
It wasn't even high optics. It was an Orion short tube. I mean, nothing wrong with it, but it's not like, it wasn't like like a stellar view or
like your 140, like your 140 Apo.
That's right. Anyway, so yeah, that's a fantastic galaxy.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
And like I said, I mean, I can see it here, even though my skies are okay with a 4-inch refractor, and it kind of looks ghostly, but you get dark skies, the 4-inch refractor, which I have seen it with the 4-inch refractor from dark skies, and it really is an amazing galaxy. So, and you step up the aperture and you get into our big scopes, like your 20 and 22. The detail that you're seeing in this nice image by Frank is seen. It's amazing. It's an amazing galaxy. Then another one for smaller scopes, and it's easy to find, is NGC 404 or Mirac's Ghost. And this is a favorite. And it's funny, Mirac is a beautiful star. It really shows, even in small telescopes, a very goldish color, very deep gold. And the larger aperture really brings up the color in it. And then you have 404, which is, of course, right here, NGC 404. Now, the Galaxy isn't overly detailed. I think it's just the pairing of this beautiful star with the galaxy and this background galaxy. Galaxy itself, even in small telescopes, show a bright little core, and it's very round. Now, a lot of observers, and I've done it before too, where you take Mirac out of the field of view and just have the galaxy, but the galaxy is sitting on the edge of the field like that. So it's like, okay, yeah, you can see the galaxy a little bit better because you don't have the glare of Mirac. But I really like to pair together. I just like to see this beautiful gold star with this background galaxy. So, and it's easy to see in smaller telescopes. It's a fairly bright galaxy, and if there's no haze in the air, and it's a really nice night, the two really are exceptional together. How about you, Robin? You like this one?
I do. I love it. I love your choices. And the first time I saw this in my 20F3, it was noticeably different than the 20F5.
Right.
And it kind of took me by surprise. And it was one of those few objects where it looked like a different object. Just the whole view was different. You know, the field of view was different. So I really enjoyed the first time I saw this through the F3. But yeah, and I agree with you. I don't think there's any point in hiding Mirac to look at the galaxy. I think the beauty of the object is seeing it with the star, and as you know, Josh likes to say, those layers of space.
Right.
You know, that you're looking at a star in our galaxy,
right.
and right next to it is a galaxy, however many millions
right.
of light years away. So yeah, I think that's the trick is not getting blinded by Mirac.
Mirac, right?
Yeah.
Then we go into the mid-sized telescopes, and I have the newest one, of course, is the Skywatcher 4.7 f7.5 ED Apo. Really like the scope. Great optics in this scope. The only thing I did was I did upgrade the focuser of it, as I mentioned to you before. But yeah, I'm very, very pleased with the quality of this telescope and the optics for this telescope. And you know, even though it's 4.7, it is a refractor. It is an Apo. It has tremendous optics, and it does really well in galaxies. And then over here, of course, is the Bresser 8.2-inch f3.9. And this guy here, it shows on the picture of it's on a Celestron go-to mount. But I am, of course, now getting a Dobsonian mount made for it. So it kind of be my large grab-and-go telescope. But this baby, this is kind of a hybrid where a lot of people, most people who buy this telescope, of course, use it for imaging. I just thought it was pretty neat to have a compact 8-inch reflector with those big wide fields. And it turns out the optical quality of this thing is tremendous. It has a nice Crayford focuser, has a 10-to-1 ratio, slow motion. It really is a tremendous telescope, and I really enjoy using it. Hence why I am putting it also into a Dob so I can use it more. And I can also, because I am putting it in the Dob, and it is compact and has a nice padded case it's in, and I use, of course, minivans to go to dark sites with my telescopes. I can actually put this thing in with one of the larger scopes, like the 22 or the 12, so I can do a 2-scope night. So it should be fun. And this is another galaxy that for me also speaks. Here comes fall, and it's in the western part of Pegasus, and it's a neat galaxy. It's a spiral galaxy. And it's fairly bright. It's around 11th magnitude, has a very high surface brightness, and as I said, it's a spiral, but it's a very tightly wound spiral. And when you look at it, and it has a very bright core, as you see in the sky survey image. And when you look at it with low power, when you first find it, if you're using a low power eyepiece, it kind of looks like a planetary nebula. That's what it looks like, because you see this bright stellar nucleus, which kind of looks like a central star of a bright planetary, and then has this very round disk around it. Now, even in a medium-sized telescope, the thing stands out really, really well. And if you use higher magnification, you'll start seeing some of the modeling around it. The core will be intensely bright, but you'll start seeing some modeling around it. Even in large telescopes, you really don't see much of the spiral structure because it's so tightly wound. But it is a neat galaxy to go for. It's an easy galaxy to view, even through a smaller telescope, medium-sized telescope. This thing really takes off. I really enjoy this little spiral. Have you ever seen that one, Rob? Have you ever seen this one?
I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, it's a nice galaxy. It's easy. It's a bright galaxy. Be a good one for you when you're on vacation with the 5.5 inch.
Yeah, I was just writing it down because if it's that bright, I think
you'll like it.
Refractor, yeah.
Yep. And next is I think is one of the most detailed objects in the sky if you're patient enough to observe it and you're under dark skies. M33, of course, member of the local group, and I believe it's the third largest, most massive galaxy in the local group after, of course, the Milky Way and Andromeda. But because it is almost face on, it's a more detailed galaxy than the Andromeda galaxy. It only requires dark sky. But not only that, I like to play with magnification a little bit with this thing, even higher power. Low power will show some nice modeling, a bright core, a hint of the spiral arms. But if you play with a little more magnification, you can start really seeing more spiral out of this thing, particularly the main spiral arms. Now, here's the bright core here. There's one here that just rotates down to NGC 604, which is, I believe, one of the largest, if not the largest, known star-making region, a nebula in this part of the universe. And then it also has this other brighter spiral arm that rotates up this way. And other spiral arms here, they're more and more broad or thinned out, but they can be seen. There's a lot of modeling this thing. And also you can see, other than just 604, there's some other, in fact, they have NGC numbers to them also, some other bright nebula. This really is a very active galaxy with a lot of stars. You can see the blue in the spiral arms of a lot of young stars are being formed. This galaxy is just amazing. I looked at this with a 22 down at Spruce Knob, and it was just unbelievable. Look at this photograph where you see this kind of detail. It was stunning. But even with those medium-sized telescopes, if you're under a dark sky and you play with magnification a bit, you'd be surprised how much detail can be picked up in this galaxy. I don't know if you have anything to offer, Rob.
No, that's always been one of my favorites, and I've observed that for many years, and not to keep repeating myself, but observed it from my driveway with a smaller telescope, and then dark skies with a larger telescope. And that's an object that you can get satisfaction out of from any power, any aperture that you're looking at it. It's even fun to just track it down in binoculars, just to know that, it's always, I find it always fascinating when you can see galaxies with binoculars. There's just something about that, let alone, when you can see, people are amazed when I show them M31 naked eye.
Right.
They just can't believe. So you think about that, you're just standing in your driveway and you look up, and without any optical aid, you can see another galaxy. Right. And sometimes enough detail like that you can pick out the orientation of it.
Right.
With averted vision.
Right.
That's pretty amazing.
It is amazing.
And then you get like any kind of, it doesn't have to be good binoculars. I used to have some really bad binoculars before I got interested in astronomy, and I would put these up there and be able to see Andromeda, M33, M13, and you're just kind of like, wow, these aren't even good optics. And, so sometimes it's just fun to know those things they're up there and you can see them without a lot of effort.
Yep. Alrighty. So now we get to the large telescope. And on the left there is my Orion Optics UK 12-inch f4. Tremendous optics in this thing. I'm very pleased with the optical quality of this telescope. The build of the telescope was really, really well done. Everything about it, I really like it. It's nice that it has a lot of aperture. It's easy to put together. I mean, this thing, you basically put the dial mount down, take the tube, put the tube on there, and you're ready to rock and roll. But yeah, the optical quality of this telescope, and this is the telescope in that near view image that of 1023 that we had in your area of tonight's presentation.
Mm-hmm.
This is the telescope here that I used. And then on the right is my largest scope is the Astro Systems 22-inch f4.5 with a Steve Swayze mirror. Tremendous optical quality there too. And I also have a 80 millimeter finder scope that matches very well with this scope. So this is an interesting galaxy or galaxies, and I nicknamed it a long time ago, the Autumn Whirlpool. And it's an ARP.
Yep.
It's NGC 753, which is the main galaxy, and then its little companion galaxy. Now, with the bigger telescopes, I can see spiral with the 22. And of course, you can see the companion galaxy. I start seeing these inner spiral arms, the main spiral arm that comes down. I cannot see the connecting like that. I have not been able to see that. But I've seen the spiral arm here. But it gives you really, when you look at it through a larger telescope, under dark sky and really good sky conditions, it really gives you that impression that it's almost like, oh, this almost looks like what M51 looks like, say, my 4-inch refractor. So it's kind of like that, where you have that impression that, oh, now you can see why it's nicknamed the Autumn Whirlpool, because it does look like that. And it has basically the same thing here, where you have a galaxy that's smaller galaxy that's most likely passing a passerby and is drawn out one of the spiral arms of the main galaxy.
So what's the magnitude on that guy?
Oh, about 12 or so.
Yeah.
12 and a half. I think the smaller galaxies around 14. So yeah, it's a lot different than the Whirlpool when it comes to how big and bright it is. But we always, we talk about observing, and since you're now a long-time observer, I mean, what it's like to try different magnifications, have patience when you're looking through the eyepiece, wait for those moments of good seeing and seeing how much more detail can pop out. There's a lot to it, and this is a galaxy that I would say is one of those where you can see there's detail there, like in the sky survey image. And for the big telescopes, it can be seen, but you need to have those good sky conditions, and you need to have patience with it. Try different magnifications like that, and I think you'll be rewarded with a really nice view. But I think the one thing you will notice that right away, even with low magnification or lower magnification, that it does kind of resemble M51. So that's why I nicknamed it the Autumn Whirlpool. The next is a Hickson group, and there's a split image here. And it's Hickson 8 in Andromeda. And it's a nice tight group from the sky survey image. And over here, I have my near view image with the 22. This was actually the same night that Sherry and I, my wife, was down in West Virginia, and we were looking at 891 and much more. And we were looking for this. This was my primary target for that night. I've never seen Hickson 8 before, and I wanted to see Hickson 8, and it was a beautiful night down there at Blackwater Falls. Just really steady skies, great transparency. Everything was working. And with the 22, I used 2 different eyepieces to view this. The 6 millimeter was 417 magnification, and the 4 millimeter at 626 magnification, which is basically this image here with the 4 millimeter. And you can see the main galaxies were easy to see. They range from like 14.5 to 15.5 plus, but they were no problem with the big guy. There was also on the edge, if you can see over here in the sky survey image, there's a little edge on Galaxy, and it's a PGC Galaxy, and I was able to pick that up too. And that was like, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, it was like maybe 16.5 magnitude or something like that. But it really wasn't that hard to pick up from those kind of skies with this kind of aperture. But yeah, this was, it was funny because I did the reverse of what Sherry did with 891. Sherry spent a lot of time up on the ladder looking at 891 and couldn't take her eye off of it. I spent a lot of time on the ladder looking at this. This was just really neat on seeing this, because it was my primary goal for that night, to see Hickson 8 and to get this kind of view. I was just blown away.
So do you think is that an edge object, DS edge object?
Yeah, I think so. With that, yeah, it was no problem to pick up in the 22 from down West Virginia. From DS Edge, I think on a really good night, I don't think there'd be any problem. Plus, Andromeda, from our point of view, where we're at, is like right overhead, so you're not going to be looking through a lot of atmosphere.
Yeah.
And it's not really, you're not really talking about dim galaxies. You're not talking 16, 17th magnitude. You're talking from like 14.5 to 15.5 magnitude or something like that. So it's easy for these big telescopes, especially with a little more magnification. But yeah, I was really, this was really, and it was funny because even after I got done viewing it and I came down the ladder, showing up, and she really liked it. She thought it was really neat.
So is it just the 5 galaxies?
Yeah, you can see those galaxies.
Yeah.
It's really neat. And looks like a plan. So plans that I want to go for. Okay. So these guys up here, Rob, in the left-hand corner, look familiar?
Yeah.
That's the Taffy Galaxies.
Yeah.
So we're going to go the opposite way. We're going to get down to the southwest. And you can see this in the sky survey image, these stars right here. And right here, I'm not quite situated between the brighter star here and this fainter star here. There's something interesting right here. And this is what we have. This is ARP 249. So if I go back here, here's the Taffy Galaxies. We're going to go to the southwest. Down here, it looks like an easy. It looks like it's just an eyepiece field away.
Right, I was going to say one eyepiece
field. Yeah,
field
because these aren't real big, so it's an eyepiece field, and just go look for these stars right here.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And here they are. Here's ARP 249, and they're not bright. They're around 16th magnitude, but they're but they're again though, I think dark skies. I think 16-inch and up should be able to see them.
Mm-hmm.
Now this jet, whatever, this extension here, you can see where the cursor's at. I don't know if that's can be seen or not.
Yeah.
I think the two primary galaxies should be able to see. I think the challenge would be not only just to see them, but to split the two nucleus.
Yep.
See them as two separate objects. So I think this will definitely, when I see the Taffy Galaxies, which are, it's really a good place. Also, again, it's in the eastern side of the Great Square of Pegasus. These should be like you can see from the wider field image, just an eyepiece field away to the southeast or southwest, excuse me. So that's one of my goals for this fall, to pick these guys up. And then this is gonna be my last, another ARP. We got a bunch of ARPs tonight. This is NGC 1143 and 1144. 1143 is here, 1144 is here, and it's ARP 118. Brighter than the previous ARPs. They're around the 13th magnitude or so, 13th, 14th magnitude. But in a really great constellation of galaxies. I wish Cetus was up a little higher for us.
Yeah.
But if you have a good southern sky, and this isn't too far down, I'm in Cetus. I don't remember off the top of my head the declination, but it's not too far south. so they should be fairly easy, even in my 12-inch. So that'll be my first. Then go up to the 22 and try to pick out more detail in it, and actually see if we can see this other small, which I believe is a background galaxy here, this elongated galaxy. I'm thinking that's probably around 16th magnitude or so, off the top of my head, by what I'm seeing here, maybe 16 and a half magnitude. But to see the two main galaxies here, interacting galaxies, and that's always been a favorite of mine, of interacting galaxies. Hence, love the ARPs and so on. But I don't have. I've probably seen these, but I don't have any good notes of them. I don't have any notes, period. But I might have seen them. But definitely, I want to go for them in either next dark window or September. Hopefully, we get some clear skies, because certainly July was not good. Hence, we're doing this.
Yeah, really.
Doing this. So
yeah, my last really good observing session was that May night up at Cherry Springs.
Yep. So there you go. It's been pretty bad.
And
so
I thought that was going to be the start of something good.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I was all psyched.
Yes, I know. But hopefully, coming up, and we have a lot of objects we can go out and view.
Yep.
Through various size telescopes, and a lot of them can be seen even in not so dark sites. But I'll tell you, you get to the darker, if you can get to darker skies and see these galaxies, it's definitely rewarding. So
yeah, great list.
That's it. So, anything else, Rob, you want to add, or?
No, just every time we do this, it gets the juices flowing to get the telescope out.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for helping out here.
Oh yeah, thanks for asking me. I'll do it anytime. I love this.
It's great.
Yeah.
All right, Rob.
All right, thanks, Carl. Yep.